season. I think Havertz and Gyökeres's understanding their play, even though we saw midweek in the Champions League, was different. And
minute one, there was a goal,
and it suited Gyökeres massively.
Why do you think Havertz might be that key, though, Mark? What about him?
Positional play. He's that kind of. He's a funny one, isn't it? Because when he was at Chelsea, it's like, where does he play? What's his best position? Does he play as a number 9? Does he play out wide? Does he play as a 10? No one quite really knew. And I think that sort of floating position where he's able to.
Some people saying, it's a bit too anxious in the Emirates, or is it just a case of just go for it?
No, I think that what the problem is Arsenal's recent history. So everybody's expecting it. We're all expecting when are they going to have a stumble? Well, they're having a little bit of a stumble now, but apart from the Invincibles, I think every team has had a little bit of a wobble. It's such a long season, so they might be considered to be having a little bit of a wobble now. The goals from open play is worrying a little bit, but on the flip side, well, if you can be in the position you're in, I think all the Arsenal fans would have took that before the season started. And if you're doing that without scoring goals from open play and scoring goals from set pieces, then great. But I just feel that the way that Arsenal play, possibly, we might get onto it, but there is players on that bench that could probably score goals from open play, i.e. Eze being on the pitch a little bit more. I feel like he could contribute definitely. We've seen what he can do when he starts games, and he hasn't featured as much since. I do think they've got the personnel to score goals from open.
He's meant to go out there and score goals, and they've got the second highest amount of goals in the league. But 4 points clear, they're in all 4 comps still. Do the team, Mark, do you still think they need to play with that freedom?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to try and play with freedom as long as possible. The minute you start to tighten up, those opportunities that you get become that little bit more difficult. And players can then let it get the best of them or better of them. I think key for Arsenal certainly is Kai Havertz being back. That's going to make a big difference. Gabriel Jesus staying fit, coming into form, which we're seeing happen, more game time. And I think that is really key coming into the end of the season. I think Havertz and Gyökeres's understanding their play, even though we saw midweek in the Champions League, was different. And
minute one, there was a goal,
and it suited Gyökeres massively.
Why do you think Havertz might be that key, though, Mark? What about him?
Positional play. He's that kind of. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because when he was at Chelsea, it's like, where does he play? What's his best position? Does he play as a number 9? Does he play out wide? Does he play as a 10? No one quite really knew. And I think that sort of floating position where he's able to play multiple positions, or if you've got an out-and-out striker like a Gyökeres, you quite really knew. And I think that sort of floating position where he's able to play multiple positions, or if you've got an out-and-out striker like a Gyökeres, you know exactly what he's going to do 1 week.
Because the legends are starting to make their voices heard. Now we saw obviously Super Sunday, there was Patrick Vieira. Patrick Vieira said it's now or never. Even Ian Wright, had been saying this week, something has to kind of change. Do you think, is it to do with the fan base? Some people saying, it's a bit too anxious in the Emirates, or is it just a case of just go for it?
Well, fans get sucked into it. Everyone gets sucked into it the more it goes on. We talk about it. Everyone talks about it.
That's why we love the Premier League, though.
Absolutely. But the way the world is today, you so much more scrutiny on you. And therefore, players feel it. You can't hide from it today. Whereas in the past, you could hide from it. In the past, you could turn the TV off and there wasn't much else. The newspapers don't bother newspapers. Social media, everything now is flooded with it.
Yeah, well, Arteta does want his players to play with more freedom, but one player who arguably doesn't appear to be in his best moment is captain Martin Odegaard. Now, take a look at this. Since Odegaard's exceptional season in 22-23, when he scored 15 and provided 7 assists, his numbers have been on a steady decline. So last season, Arsenal's captain scored 3 goals, provided 8 assists, which equaled a goal or an assist every 212 minutes. But this season, his numbers have dropped further with just 1 goal and 3 assists so far. Well, today, our reporter Dharma Sheth put those stats to Arteta.
Is there any part of you that's concerned, and is there any part of you that is thinking about maybe to take him out of the firing line a little bit and rest him?
So those are the numbers, but we have to give the full numbers as well, that he's played much less minutes than any other season as well, because he's been 3 times injured.
Where, we're at the really important part of the season, Arsenal 4 points clear, he's not going to come out and say anything negative about his captain of the club, right?
Yeah.
And there's no doubting the guy's a phenomenal player. When he's on form, he's had stop-start career at Arsenal, certainly of late with all the injuries, but those numbers are concerning. And you look at the side that Arsenal have now, they are better. There are more outlets, there are more opportunities. A player with Odegaard's ability should be able to find more possibilities, create more chances for players.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest issue, I feel. I look at it and just go, what is wrong with him? What's happening? Where is he? How's he dropped off? Has he dropped off? Is he playing? Is he not? Are we not playing him in his ideal position anymore? So what ways can we get him to influence the game a bit more? And it's worrying when you think they're so much better and he's having even less of an influence.
Do you think though, when we look at that and you see the 22-23 season when Arsenal, all of a sudden looked like a title, challenging side, they were much more a transitional side at that point. It was like, I think it was 2 passes that kind of get to Odegaard. It was Zinchenko breaking that first line, then it was Xhaka straight to Odegaard. And he was in that transition. He had much more space. Do you think, Ash, he might just be struggling with the fact that it is so much more congested in that box on those areas?
Possibly, but I think he has the skill set. You would expect him to be able to deal with tight areas and the way that Arsenal are, they've been all season, you expect teams to drop off, play in a low block, try and squeeze out that space, probably pay him a little bit more attention, Odegaard, because he's so good.
Yeah.
But being that good means that you should be able to get out of those tight situations, create assists, create chances for yourself, score more goals.
Yeah.
So it probably is frustrating. I think Mark's point is a good one, whereas we don't actually know how he feels, Odegaard. His manager's come out, which is what the whole squad would want him to do, and back him publicly. Of course, it's his captain. He knows exactly what Arteta wants on the pitch. But you feel for him a little bit because he doesn't look like he's enjoying his football at the minute.
Yeah, I know a moment ago, obviously, you said you might want to go more with Eze. Mm-hmm. Eze, obviously, he's got 4 Premier League goals. He's got 2 assists. He's played more minutes than Odegaard this season because Odegaard had his shoulder injury. If I were to tell you, right, because we looked this up, in less minutes, Martin Odegaard has got triple the chances created over Eze. Would that change your mind at all?
No.
Why?
No.
Surely that's what you want, though. You want those chances
when he scored that hat-trick, and I think he come out the starting 11 pretty quick after that, I was so surprised because you've got a player... It looks to me like a player that maybe was signed for the club that Arteta didn't particularly want himself. Right. That's how I see it. Because if you've got a player that we're talking about in Odegaard that's maybe struggling, and I know he's your captain, and normally the captain always plays, but you've got behind you someone like Eze.
It's a phenomenal player. Yeah.
Unbelievable player. Yeah. Wants to get in that World Cup squad. You struggle. It's all right bringing him off the bench, but at some point you've got to go and say, listen, I'm going to give you a run of games. I'm going to give you 3 to 5 games. Show me what you can do. And I believe...
But he did.
Yeah,
well,
no, he did.
But
I don't think that when he did that, he played badly. I don't think. No, I think they'd score. I think they'd score more goals with Eze starting. That's my point. Over Odegaard. But fair play to. I like the fact that the manager's come out and backed his captain. That's important.
I'm a massive fan of Eze. I think most people are. I think he's such an exciting player, and the quality is there, obvious for everyone. But the stat of creating more chances, Odegaard's involvement. I think for a team like Arsenal, who are in contention, obviously leading, they are at the moment in control of the Premier League title race. They need as many created chances as possible. So to have someone like Eze is something of an individual brilliance, can create something, but generally it's the individual brilliance that can dictate a game. That happens overall far too... not often enough for my liking. You want a player that is going to influence the game more often with chances created. And I think for me, for a team like Arsenal, with all the creativity and all the quality players they have around, they need more creativity. And if Odegaard's going to give you that, that for me has to go ahead of that one individual player.
Do you not think if we're talking about goals from open play, Odegaard's playing, maybe it's time. Maybe if he plays, if he has a run and he doesn't score, then okay, fair enough. But I know you said he played when Odegaard was injured. Yeah. But right now, I think if they're struggling a little bit to create goals, not chances, goals. Yeah. I think Eze might be the man for that.
But what's his job description? What is Odegaard's job description? What is his real role in this team? Yeah. It's creativity. Yes, scoring some goals, and he's had some great seasons there. But it's about creating opportunities for his teammates, and if they're not then finishing, that's another issue.
Yeah,
right?
No, of course. Yeah, so you get the situation where his argument might be, I'm producing, and they're not.
No one's
putting
finishing
it in the net. Yeah. Well, you go and score then.
Yeah,
that's it.
You're Odegaard, go and score.
But depending on where he is, if he's sitting a bit deeper, which he's in midfield, that is a little bit more difficult when you've got players and the setup that Arsenal have. I feel it's a little bit sometimes like they've got great wingers, but sometimes a little bit too selfish. Yeah. Gyökeres is still trying to find his feet, like I said before. Havertz back, I think that could be.
They've got a great
moment.
relationship between the two.
I think that's
of them.
that moment. They could be a big difference. And I think the next couple of weeks is really, I mean, obviously, stating the obvious, really important. And it's going to be interesting to see how this transitions. What does Mikel Arteta do with these players? How does he integrate? How does he put a side together that is not necessarily, I don't agree necessarily, put a player in the team and give him 3-4 games because you've got to see what he can do.
Yeah.
You've got to know what they can do, and they've got to hit the ground running because they're running out of time otherwise.
Listen, I love it. We've got a big debate on our hands already.